Welcome everybody to the Single and Stiletto Show. I'm Suzanne Oshima, and I'm a dating and relationship coach and founder of Dream Bachelor and Bachelorette, and also of Single and Stilettos. Today we have on our show Duana Welch, and she's the author of Love Factually, 10 Proven Steps from I Wish to I Do. And it's an amazing book, you guys. So I can't wait to jump into this interview because today we're talking about how can I find out more about him before I commit, because ladies, I don't want you jumping into a relationship with somebody until you really know important things about them. So before we jump into this interview, Duana, I would love for you to tell our audience a little bit about you and what made you write this book, Love Factually.
Well, my husband encouraged me to write it, as did some of the readers of my blog. But really what caused me to get the information that led to the book was a selfish interest. I sucked at dating. I had a set of mistakes I was making, but I didn't even know which mistakes I was making. I just knew I was not doing it effectively. I was really successful at work. So that really threw me off. Like, how am I succeeding here but not there? All these other people are succeeding there and here, or just there. So I thought maybe science had an answer, because I have a PhD in the social sciences, specifically in developmental psychology. And it occurred to me maybe someone or many someones had studied this, and they had. And so I started taking notes longhand initially about, okay, this is what I'm going to do based on this, and this is what I'm going to do. My life's my own experiment. I can try stuff out. If it doesn't work, I can go back to the way I was doing it. And boy, did it work. And so eventually that became a blog and a book.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you tried everything out so that all the ladies can now just reap the rewards from your results. Is that it? Why am I not connecting that? You know what I mean, ladies. Anyways, okay, so let's talk about how can a woman find out more about him before she makes a commitment?
Well, I'm going to give you 4 tips. The first one is leverage your contact with his friends and family. If he's crazy about you, he should be wanting to introduce you to his friends at a minimum pretty soon. If he keeps you out of his inner circle, that's a message. So, leverage the contact with his friends and family. When you're with his friends and family, listen to what they say about him. For example, here are 2 things that got said to me about a man by his friends or family that really said a lot about the man. 3 things, actually. Okay, thing number 1, window in my house is not raising and lowering. The guy's sister comes over and looks over at the window and goes, oh, he'll get right on fixing that. When I asked her what she meant, she goes, he's so lazy. You know what? He really was.
That is so funny.
Second thing someone said to me was kind of a backhanded compliment to the guy. It was the guy's ex-wife. She called me because I had broken up with her ex-husband. Now, I liked his ex-wife. I hadn't known her before I started dating the guy. But the ex, he called her when I broke up. He was upset and wanted me back. And she called me to say what a great guy he was. And what she said was, I know he's really crazy about you. He never goes out of his way for anyone, but he does for you. Now, what part of that sentence should I be listening to?
The part that he doesn't go out of his way for anybody else except for you.
Because eventually we all get treated like the other people in a man's life.
Right.
So when I met my husband, he immediately wanted me to meet everyone he was close to. There was a party and everyone was going to be there. We'd only been dating a few weeks. And he said, I want you to know who I am. And we went to this party and people said, oh, Vic has been saying so many wonderful things about you. It's so great to meet you. And you are so lucky. Not he was lucky. I was lucky. I had never been told that about a man I dated, that I was lucky. And I said, tell me more. And they said, everyone had the same kind of story. Well, I could call him at 2 a.m. and he would act like it was no imposition at all. And he would help me with anything.
That's the type of man that will be there for you for anything.
Yes, and he is. And so we've been married almost 10 years now. Listen to what friends and family tell you, because they will usually tell you the truth. Thing number 2, Let's say that it's really early days and you're like, don't bore us, get to the chorus. I want to know. Something you can do is you can ask men, so if your ex-girlfriend, ex-wife, whoever their ex is, if your ex were with us right now, what would they say was the reason for the breakup? Or what would they say was a real big difficulty in your relationship? The guy will tell you. He'll tell you.
Really? Men won't lie about that?
In my and my clients' experience, they tell you.
Wow. Okay.
And, you need to listen to, is that something I can live with? One man said, well, my ex-wife thought I was a slob. And it turned out the guy really was. He didn't clean anything. And not only that, he'd go around behind you and leave all the cabinet doors open and leave everything out that he ever took. He was. And some women are cool with that, but most aren't. So good information, right? Thing number 3 that you can do. Look, Google is your friend. My husband worked in the IT world for a long time, and whenever he would have a problem with some programming thing, he would say, Google is my friend, and he would go look it up. Google is your friend. Almost everybody has a media footprint these days. Find out what it is. Studies show that the way people present themselves on social media usually is actually pretty accurate about who they are. You would think, people are just going to project the image they want, but most people really don't. They really are like the person that they're representing. So look at that. If your spidey senses tell you that this might be a bad guy, if it's really early days, look, plenty of fish in the sea, just don't see him anymore. But if it's later on and you're thinking, okay, what is this? You could always hire a private detective, and I have had people do that before. You need to know. This is a big choice. It's a big decision, and you need to know.
So let me ask you a question, because I can hear what the women are out there saying is, well, yeah, but if I hire a private detective, it's like I don't trust him. Can you give the ladies out there that are thinking that some advice?
Sure. Well, I hear you, because the current social mores say that we should trust someone right away, and that if we don't, there's something wrong with us.
Right.
But trust is earned. It's earned. And your intuition probably isn't steering you wrong. And if you've had a really hard past with men, whether it's your father or whether it's someone who hurt you emotionally or physically when you were growing up, or a relationship that didn't work out that you wanted, if you have had a troubling past with men, and let's face it, most of us have. Most of us have some pain in our lives, or we wouldn't be watching videos and making videos and writing books about relationships, right? So this means that there are some hot button issues for you, and that you can't just give somebody the all clear. It's not even wise to do so.
Well,
it's not wise to do so. They need to earn our trust. That doesn't mean you say to the guy, by the way, I've hired a PI to scope you out, or I Googled the hell out of you to find out if you are who you say you are. It doesn't mean that. But for example, I was helping someone. I have clients all over the world. I do Skype client work. And someone I had a long time ago who lets me share this story was interested in going out with a guy, and I said, well, make sure you Google him, because you don't know the first thing about this guy. You've met him online, which is how I met my husband. And by the way, that works. Data, in fact, recently show that people who meet online are slightly happier with their marriages on average than people who meet other ways. So I'm not trashing online meetings. But I said, you need to Google him. And she did, and it turned out that he had been arrested quite recently for a DUI. Now, what are the odds that that's the only time that he got drunk and then got behind the wheel?
Yeah, you're right. That's
They're
not
almost
the only
zero.
time.
It's not the only time. For every time someone is arrested for that, they have probably driven dozens of times under the many, many times. And she was not okay with that. That wasn't going to work out for her. So she politely said that she had decided not to go out with him. She didn't give the reason. You don't owe people your reason when you don't have a relationship. And she didn't go out with him, and she wound up married to a man who doesn't drive drunk, who is a wonderful human being.
And she didn't waste her time.
That's right.
That to me is a big thing, is that she didn't waste her time, because God forbid she ended up in a relationship with this guy for 6 to 8 months, and then she finds out that he drives drunk, or he got this DUI. She would have wasted a lot of time, and then she would have been back at square one yet again, right?
Or if she already had children, what if he, was on the list as a child molester?
Oh God.
I mean,
Yeah.
that happens. I have known people who found that out.
Hmm.
I don't want to scare people out of meeting anyone at all, but we have more information now than we ever have had before.
That is true. And it's honestly, it's about being safe. And, you brought up something earlier, Duana, is about, we have all these fears from our past experiences of men. And so what I always see with my clients is, when a woman has all these different fears, whatever they may be, and they're valid, is all these walls keep going up and around her, and then she's not letting anyone in. So if you want to be able to truly let down those walls, really find out more about him, so that you do feel more comfortable and you don't feel like, what is it that I don't know about him, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Trust, again, it's earned. It does not make sense to share. Intimacy, the best definition I know is that intimacy is sharing every aspect of ourselves without fear of losing our identity.
Mm-hmm.
So that implies we have an identity, but it also implies a high level of trust. Would it be wise to share all aspects of ourselves with no fear with just anyone? It really wouldn't. So the other thing is, sometimes people assume you're a little crazy if you tell too much too quickly.
Oh yeah, that's true. That is very
I
true.
revealed something very personal to you today before we started this interview that you hadn't known about me, even though I've talked to you many, many times. And that made us feel closer to each other. But part of the reason it did that is because we have a foundation of trust, and we have some history behind us at this point. And had I revealed that right out of the gate, you might have been like, whoa, oversharing.
That's true. And it's I see that a lot, where someone can share too much. What I always say is, too much too soon. Is you have to do it in stages. I had another client, it was a male client, and he used to share way too much too soon, and it used to scare women, and they'd back up and they'd pull away, even though he was a great guy. And I'm like, there's certain things you need to wait to share till, like you said, Duana, is you have that foundation. Then when you share something big, it's not that big of a deal. It's like, oh, okay, I can accept that. I know you, right?
Oh, you are keying into such an important thing that I didn't even plan to say. But, another big way you can vet people quickly up front, look at what they do and give that 5 times the weight of what they say.
Oh, yeah. I tell my clients that all the time. I'm like, a man could say anything he wants to say, and some men are actually really good at saying what a woman wants to hear. But I always say to my clients, watch their actions. Watch their actions. If they don't match up to their words, go by their actions. So,
and the other thing is, it's so true. There are some things that if a man says it, it should put you on high alert. If he says, I've never hit a woman, why are you thinking about that? If he says, I'm honest, my husband never told me that he never hit a woman or that he was honest. And my clients who have found out really bad things about men, a lot of times the guy said, I'm not this, when he was.
Ooh, interesting.
A lot of times the guy had said it. I tend to find that honest people don't proclaim how honest they are. They make an assumption that they are honest and that the world is honest.
That's interesting. That's true. Well, if you're honest, why would you have to declare you're honest? It should be a given.
I don't think I've ever said to anybody, oh, I'm really honest. That's one of my best points. Why would I say that?
Because we would hope, Duana, you were honest.
I also don't kick puppies.
Yeah, and right when you said it, that's like a thing like, well, I hope you don't, right? Right when you said it, it went off in my head of, I hope she doesn't.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's interesting that you said that. Well, these have been some great tips. So, Duana, you have a free gift for the ladies. Everybody loves you. Whenever I interview you, everybody always talks about how amazing the advice that you give.
Well, everyone, thank you. I appreciate you all so much. Because I usually tell you this. This is my book. Look, nice, juicy book. Look, I went for the big font and the beautiful images. You get a free chapter of this book online if you go to Love Factually with an F, lovefactually.co. And that's my free gift to you today is a free chapter and something else that's free. I always answer every email I get.
Aw, see, I love that, Duana. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on the Single and Stiletto show. If you like our show, it's available both in video format and podcast format. If you would like to view the videos, you can go to singleandstilettos.com. And if you would like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. And if you would like to get our free ebook on why men disappear without a trace, you can click right here on the video, or you can go to singleandstilettos.com.